Go for it.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. In addition to it being Warrior Season, it is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And the Public Works Committee has been working really hard to bring you a very special lineup of events, starting with this event, which features two of the Bay Area's biggest, most prolific Asian American arts organizations, Asian American Pacific Islander Cultural Center and CAAMFest, the Center for Asian American Media. So I wanted to introduce you to today's guests, Melanie Elvena. We're going to drop her official bio into the chat. I have known Melanie for many years. She's been doing production at Bindlestiff, and they're always so lucky whenever she's involved with producing an event at the Filipino American Arts Organization just down on 6th and Howard. She's the artistic director, and when she came at APICC, and when she came on there, she just really helped to transform the organization, bringing in really amazing programs, really thoughtfully selecting what gets produced. And then she's also involved with the Asian American Women's Artists Association. And again, like every organization that she touches just starts to shine. And I saw recently that she's also doing BIPOC. She has her own production company now featuring BIPOC artists.
Wow.
So lucky
Yeah,
to
all kinds of stuff.
And then
When do you sleep?
I've also known through Bindlestiff. She's a great performer, but then her magic really is in programming. And so she was doing programming over at the Jewish Community Center
Of San Francisco.
Jewish Community Center of San Francisco, where she was doing a whole range of programming, particularly within food. And she's a she, they pronouns. She also has been doing her own creative production using food. And then she got both the Ebony McKinney Emerging Leaders Award from the Arts Commission and Emerging Arts Professionals. And she got a curatorial fellowship with the Asian Art Museum. And that last award was while she was away during COVID in Asia. And then what brought her back was she got this amazing position as the festival director. So, this is her first full year of programming. And so she really got to put her spin on this festival. And we're just so excited to have both of them. And so leading the conversation today is our own Raymond Louie. So let's get him on the spotlight if we can. Raymond's been with the department for over 12 years. He's a native San Franciscan. And, he was growing up in the 70s and 80s. And so he identifies with the characters in the Joy Luck Club. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Raymond to have a really great conversation with these two amazing programmers.
Thank you, Robin. And thank you, Melanie and Thúy, for joining us. It's pretty exciting to have you participate in our AAPI activities. But the Joy Luck Club it definitely puts an age on me. You guys, but again, thank you all for joining us. And so let's kick it off. Melanie, tell us about your organization, its mission, and the key programming that you guys have.
So yes, thank you again, Raymond and Robin, for the very nice introduction. My name is Melanie Elvena. I am the artistic director at the Asian Pacific Islander Cultural Center. It's one of the 7 San Francisco sponsored cultural centers that's funded by the San Francisco Arts Commission and Grants for the Arts. Our mission is to present and promote art that's reflective of the unique experiences of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders living here in the United States. And so, we have a festival every year that we do called the United States of Asian America Festival. It usually runs from end of April now through mid-June. And we always have multiple programs in all disciplines. And this year we have about I think it's 23 artists, 23 groups at least of artists who are participating, and it covers all of the disciplines: dance, film, music, visual art, anything you can really imagine, food as well sometimes, depending on the year. And we have just like an amazing lineup of artists every single year, a good mix of both emerging artists as well as some of our more established artists that have been producing work for many, many years. And it's always just such a pleasure to see who comes through every year. And it's not just, it's not just like they are part of a festival. It's really this cohort that we're building, this community that we're building with the artists throughout the year, and they really get to know each other and support each other too, and support their work. So it's been,
Yeah, very nice. How about you, Thúy? Tell us about your organization and its mission and the key programming that you guys have.
Yeah. Hey, Raymond. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having Melanie and me here. I'm Thúy. I work, I'm the Festival and Exhibitions Director for CAAM. It stands for the Center for Asian American Media. So CAAM, we've been in existence for about 42 years now. And we're dedicated to presenting stories that convey the breadth and diversity of the Asian American experience. And we do this through funding, producing documentaries for PBS, for national television. We also have a fellowship program as well, where we nurture filmmakers there. My piece is, so I'm the festival director of CAAMFest, which is it's our largest public programming and one of the largest festivals in the country that showcases Asian and Asian American talent in film, food, and music. You might have known CAAMFest formerly as SFIAF. It stands for the San Francisco International Asian American Film Festival. It's a mouthful, but we rebranded to CAAMFest in 2013, and since then we've kind of expanded to more than just being a film festival. We also do food, music programming, industry events. And then, with my coming on, we're wanting to expand even more of our food and music programs as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now, just kind of transitioning more towards a multidisciplinary approach to festival. And this also, gives us, really great opportunities to collaborate with other organizations here in the Bay as well, like APICC, which we'll talk about our events later on.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. I learned earlier today that you guys do some collaboration. You guys know each other really well. Melanie, what's your background in arts and how did you come to this line of work?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I actually studied art history in college, and my very, very last class was an Asian American art history class. And in that class, they talked about all of the different arts organizations: Kearney Street Workshop, Asian American Women Artists Association, CAAM, all of the organizations that were really essential to the arts here in San Francisco. And I grew up here in the Bay Area, and I had not known about them. And I was just like floored in this class, being like, wait, what? This was in my backyard and I had no idea about it. So when I moved back home, and this is about a little over a decade ago now, I immediately was like, I want to get involved. I want to know what's out there. So I started volunteering with Kearney Street Workshop. I became their intern and later their festival coordinator for their Aperture, which is their Emerging Asian American Artists Festival. And that was in 2013. And I also started interning for Asian American Women Artists Association, where I'm still a part of. And that's when I really got, into the scene and started learning about not just the history, but like the rich arts community that's here in the Bay Area and just all the different things. And that just kind of kicked it off for me. And then that, in 2013 as well, some of the programs that Kearney Street Workshop was working on, Asian American Women Artists Association was working on, was part of APICC Festival. And that's when I met Vinay Patel, our executive director. And the next year I joined as actually the program coordinator, and then later transitioned into the artistic director. And it's just really getting involved with Kearney Street Workshop was the one that really kicked it off. And that's where I just met everybody and really got to see the breadth of everything that was going on. And not just talking to like artists who've been around for a long time and been working, but also just like this new cohort, this new like yeah, there's almost like this excitement of like bringing this emerging artist festival back, because it had been on hiatus for a couple of years, and that's really, for me, kicked it off, and I just fell in love with the community, and I was like, all right, I'm here. And now it's been over a decade. This year marks 10 years for me, actually, that I've been doing programming specifically with the AAPI community, and it has been quite a ride. And I would not exchange it for anything else. It's been quite a pleasure. And yeah, that's how I met Thúy. Thúy came in and has been part of my festival as well with the Rooted Recipes project, as well as through Bindlestiff. We've been in community together, and I was so excited when I heard the news that Thúy was going to be the CAAMFest director, because I had worked with CAAMFest for many years, but now it's like, oh yeah, really having like a friend and community that I've known for a long time. Also, directing, curating, and doing, and really just, yeah, adding more breadth and more richness to our programming that's here.
Yeah, wow. So that actually leads me right to Thúy, right? I mean,
yeah.
You let that right in there. And so, Thúy, your background, and how did you come about to being the director now, huh?
Yeah, I did not grow up here in the Bay. I was actually born in Vietnam. My family, we were refugees from Vietnam. We came to the States when I was about 5, and we landed on the East Coast in Massachusetts, because my dad had a brother there, so he sponsored us over. And you just kind of follow family. And we ended up on Cape Cod. My family ended up on Cape Cod. We were like the only Vietnamese people there, so grew up in a very predominantly white homogenous space. And I didn't grow up with a lot of Asian kids. And I think I grew up, just having just a lot of stuff that I needed to work through with my identity and being Vietnamese. And, it was only when I went off to college, I went to school in DC, that I was exposed to so many other Asian American students. I took Asian American Lit class my freshman year. My mind was blown. I was like, oh my gosh, there's just so much here. Our history and our culture in this country is just so rich, and there's just so much to be proud of and to learn more about. And from there, I was part of the Asian American Student Association, the Vietnamese Student Association, like all these student groups, and organizing on CAAMFest later on, and just really feeling the importance of needing our stories to be represented, on a collegiate level, and then once I graduated, on more of like a community level, and now with CAAMFest. We have like this national platform, which is incredible. But I lived in DC for about 7 years or so, and I knew at the time, like, DC isn't it for me. The Asian American community is great, but it's small, and I wanted to be part of a bigger movement. I wanted to be surrounded more by Asian American organizations, and just more of a community, more of an artistic community. And so I really looked towards the Bay Area. For me, as somebody who grew up on the East Coast, like, I really felt like the Bay Area was the epicenter of all of these movements that formed around just Asian American presence. Thinking about the movement around even ethnic studies. And so I really gravitated towards the Bay. At the time, I wanted to go into entertainment. I wanted to film, be a director or be a writer, an actor. And so I just wanted to be in that space. And so I literally Googled Asian American entertainment. and then the organization that popped up was CAAM. And I saw that they had CAAMFest. I'm like, oh, I actually applied, did not get it. And then the following year I applied again, and I did get it. And so this really, I was the guest services and travel coordinator for CAAMFest. And this really it pushed me and made it possible for me to move to the Bay. And it was here that, being a part of my first CAAMFest experience is just so incredible. This was the first time that I was able to be surrounded by so much Asian American talent on the screen. I mean, outside of this, there was just nothing, ever since Joy Luck Club in 1993, as like the mainstream film that we saw in theaters. And then there was nothing until Crazy Rich Asians, most recently pre-pandemic. And this is his mainstream. But at CAAMFest has been screening and showing films by Asian American filmmakers since the 80s. So we're moving into our 41st year right now. And really, this is one of the few places that you're going to be able to witness all of these films that you're not going to be able to see in theaters or outside of the Bay or even online. And so that experience just really, it was just really impactful for me. I became even more involved with other Asian American organizations. Melanie mentioned KSW, Kennedy Street Workshop. I think that was the first organization that I became involved with working on Aperture. I knew nothing. I didn't know anyone. And they were like, oh, who do you think should be an artist? And I was like, And so it took me a little bit to build, you know, and not to build, but just to nurture and cultivate relationships. And KSW, you know, brought me to Bindlestiff, where I met Melanie. And you know, Bindlestiff really opened so many doors for me in terms of learning about the Filipino American community here and other arts organizations, you know, working with the Asian Art Museum. APICC was just so critical to the formation of one of the culinary collectives that I helped form back in 2018. We applied for the APICC, United States of Asian American Festival not fellowship grant. We just had an idea. We wanted to create a food program with other Southeast Asian chefs and artists. And so we just came to APICC with this idea. We got the grant, and then we were able to form our collective. And from there, you know, APICC has invited us back to be a feature artist. And so just the community here is just so, all that's to say, we're just so intersectional and it feels so supportive in a way that I was not able to experience on the East Coast. And so just really grateful to be here and to be in community with everyone.
Yeah, no, you know, for both of you, I feel the excitement and the passion and the love that you have for what you do. Is pretty contagious, I think. You know, and so, you know, now Melanie, you started as an intern and now you're the artistic director.
I know, right?
How do you select the work that you showcase now?
So I learned a lot about curating when I did Aperture back 10 years ago about like, what does it mean to curate? How do you select artists? And I really brought that in when I started at APICC in, I believe it was 2014. They had just finished their last festival season and I was jumping on at the end. And really when I took it over, I inherited this festival, which previously was just curated by the artistic director, and they just chose whoever they wanted to include. But then the year that I came on was when Win was the artistic director at the time, and they actually wanted to start an open call process where artists could apply for grants. And then I really took that on, and I was like, okay, like let's come up with different levels. Let's like, you know, for different types of productions, and I kind of just took it on, and I really was like, well, how else can we grow this? How else can we create more community around this? So we started doing the technical services workshops where folks who apply and are accepted into our festival, they get to do workshops where we teach them about different things like fundraising and budgeting and marketing and all the different things that you have to know about in terms of production. And so when I'm curating, I'm really looking at like, okay, who needs this? You know, like we have emerging artists, we have some mid-career artists, we have some really established artists, you know, and how are we representing like a snapshot of what the AAPI community is experiencing right now? And so I actually curate the festival now as an open call process I always invite 3 other AAPI arts leaders to help me, and sort of we all get together, we read all the applications. Pre-pandemic, we would have like dinner over and kind of just decide, okay, what do we want to see? Who are we excited about? Like who's emerging, who's mid-career, and then we kind of just like try to get like that nice little snapshot. We try in some way, shape, or form to represent all the disciplines that are happening, as well as like the different communities. So, because as we know, AAPI is not a monolith. There's so many diverse communities within that that title, and so we really want to, you know, try to represent everybody and what their stories are. If there's something unique that we haven't had before, we really try to include that in. And that's just kind of like my curatorial process is like, it's very collaborative. It's so I'm like, you know, we have a lot of discussions with the jury that I choose, and we come up and we say, you know, every year too, I come up with a theme. This year it's reimagining horizons, and because we're really just, you know, slowly coming out of the pandemic, we're like, what are we imagining for ourselves? You know, like things are starting to feel a little bit better. Like in the, you know, last few years, we've been experiencing a lot of like API hate and like the violence and you know, with the pandemic and the anxiety around that, all the political unrest. But now we're starting to like come out of it. I feel like a lot of our artists now too are having a lot to say because of what they've been experiencing over the last few years, and yeah, and seeing things like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and like just much more mainstream representation of APIs in the media. People are excited and they really are like, oh, I want to tell my story. I want to be able to be a part of this festival that really showcases what I'm doing. And from what I've heard from a lot of artists too, like how Thúy said, it's like, oh yeah, like APICC gave me that opportunity to take this idea that I had and really develop it and make sure that it comes to fruition, and then I can put out my work into the world. And then from there, just like creates this spark that, you know, motivates them to continue on. And then of course we're here to like really nurture that, and because we provide fiscal sponsorship, we provide one-on-one consultation, we provide all kinds of resources so that their idea isn't just this one-time thing. We really want them to grow. We really want them to, you know, even if do they want to start a nonprofit? Do they want to start an arts collective? What do they want to do? And we through the festival and through the cohort that we form every year, we take them where they need to go. And I think that's the part that for me, like in the curation process, that's the most important, is really like creating this community. And so that folks like Thúy would like have her program through us, and then maybe one of their participants will next year, oh, I want to do my own thing, so I'm going to apply to APICC Festival too, and I'm going to do my own idea. So I've seen a lot of that like come and go of like, oh, like they were part of something and now they want to become a producer, and it's just like this pathway of growth and into the AAPI art scene. And then who knows, maybe you'll end up becoming a director of an organization in the future. And that's yeah, being able to see that trajectory for a lot of our artists, it's really a pleasure. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome, the collaboration. And I don't know if you realize, but our theme for this year is the strengthening of the fabric of our community. And I think what you're doing right now is exactly that. That's kind of a,
no, I love that.
How did that work out? That's pretty neat. Yeah, and Thúy, I mean, you guys are going into the world of food, so which is one of my favorite topics. How do you select your work?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love talking about food. But don't forget, we have a ton of films too. We have 55 to 60 programs this year between May 11th through the 21st. The 10-day festival. So we do so similar to other film festivals, we have a lot of overlapping programs, and so you really need to kill your darlings here and really be able to like select and choose. And I remember in an earlier conversation I had with Robin, she indicated that, you know, part of her experience as an attendee is really figuring out that schedule. And so I you know, part of the curation process for me is of course wanting to have quality programs. I'm like, I want to make it so hard for people to choose. That's a joke. It's a joke. They're all great. You really cannot go wrong. So similarly to APICC, we do have a submissions process for our film. And this has been something that's historical. And so we do an open call in the fall. So we'll do it again probably this September, October. And this is for Asian American documentaries, narratives, short films. And we have an international category as well. We also have mixed media. And from there, we have a screening committee who helps filters through. And then it comes to me and I watch hundreds of films and we'll choose it from there. But I will choose films in consultation with some of our year-round programming staff. And that's kind of a little bit more in the final rounds once we whittle it down a little bit more. For food and for food programs, so this year we have made much more of an effort to expand our programming, and for me, providing multiple points of access is important. So we have food programs that range from a conversation to a dinner, and storytelling with tastings in between. And so I can go into those specific programs later on when we touch into the programs. But we have some pretty amazing. One of the dreams that I've always had was to bring in a guest chef from out of town to collaborate with a local chef, and that's with our APICC, our collaboration with APICC. It's a Filipino-owned restaurant in Fisherman's Wharf. They were recently nominated this year for a James Beard for Best New Restaurant. The chef that we're flying in, her name is Tara Mansad from San Diego. She's also Filipino-American. She's the executive chef of a place called Anime. And she has really transformed their menu and brought in and introduced so many Asian American dishes. I mean, this is a Filipino-American chef who's making Taiwanese fried chicken. She's making Vietnamese fried fish. And there's also Filipino food as well, like oh my gosh, why I'm blanking. Well, on our menu we have tocino, we have lechon, but this program is a little bit more fine dining, I guess. But it's, I mean, the amount of food, and we'll have a conversation with these chefs, and I really feel like these chefs are really pushing the boundaries on how we define Asian American food and cuisine, how they run, or how they even implement their kitchen culture. Because I think for us mainstream, we're thinking, we think about people like, oh my gosh, who's that really mean? The mean chef, the British one, what's his name?
Yeah. Oh.
You know what?
Yeah.
But that's the impression that we
tongue.
have. Yes, that's the impression. Hell's Kitchen, that guy. But that's the impression we have, that, you know, these chefs, you know, are really, I mean, it's just toxic, the environment. And so Chef Francis and Chef Tara, they're really, you know, they're really creating this next generation of cooks and chefs and just industry people. And I think it's worth it. It's worthwhile for us to lift that and to show that there are different ways of running your kitchen. There's different ways of running your organization. And these people are leading the pathway there. We have our music programs as well. So we have concerts, we have our flagship showcase called Directions in Sound. Usually this is highlighting the up and coming artists, but for this year, we're actually harking back to a legacy band called Fanny, who's the first all-female female rock band to secure a big record label. And it was formed by these Filipino-American sisters in Sacramento and their friends. And so they're in their 70s now. We're bringing them back for a reunion. It's going to be a free concert. I can share more on that later. But more on the curatorial side, yes, we also highlight, and we try to highlight underrepresented stories. So much of my process is collaborative. So finding community partners to really, sometimes it's just lonely, you know, like programming by yourself. And I really feel like some of my best works has been with other people, and especially other folks who don't share the same thought process as me, or they like different things. And I think if I keep programming CAAMFest in the same way, it's gonna feel stagnant, and I don't want that. I want us to always bring up fresh ideas and events, and part of doing that is bringing in people that you trust, who have, you know, all these different ideas that you might not even think about. And so I really strongly believe in the collaborative process with curation, and also bringing in communities as well, and decentralizing CAAM. And how can we be a platform for other organizations, for other artists? Yeah, I'm gonna pause there.
Yeah, wow, yeah, that's awesome. You know, for those with high school kids in the audience in the city, CAAMFest is what brought us Try Harder, right? So I thought that was pretty neat. So speaking of all this activity, Melanie, what do you got lined up in May?
A whole amazing festival for you. Yeah, the presentation is just being pulled up right now. There we go. So yeah, this is our festival. It's the United States of Asian America Festival, Reimagining Horizons. And I'm going to go over some highlights. So can you please go to the next slide? First and foremost, we have every year we have a visual arts exhibition at Soma Arts Cultural Center in the Soma. This year we collaborated with the Asian American Women Artists Association to bring Jade Wave Rising Portraits of Power, curated by Yu Lin. It's up now. We just opened it this past Thursday. It's up now through May 21st. Next slide, please. You can see here's the gallery hours. You can see it both in person, or there is a virtual version of the exhibition online. It literally drops you in the middle of the gallery, and you can like poke around too if you're unable to come in person. But the show is really wonderful. It features 20 AAPI women and non-binary identified artists, and they all are talking about the prompt of what does it mean to have power, what does it mean to express your power, especially as an AAPI woman. And it features this large scale. It's about, I think it's like a 30-foot wide by like 20-foot tall wave. It's an interactive installation by the curator. And there's an interactive part where you can participate, and you can actually go inside the wave, and that's pretty cool. As well as in the back area, if you look in the back of this photo, there's the annex, and we commissioned Twin Walls Mural Company to do a community altar installation, so a way to honor your ancestors, forgotten figures in history, and folks can write down the names of the people that they want to remember and paste them as part of the wall. And at the end of the exhibition, we will have a prayer paper burning ceremony to sort of honor them. So that's up now until May 21st, like I said. Next slide, please. If you want to join us on the 21st, we will be having our closing reception with poetry readings by Shizue Siegel, who's on your left here, Rebecca Nee in the middle, as well as a screening of Manila Town Manang, which was produced by the International Hotel iHotel. For those of you who know your Asian American history, it's where a lot of the housing rights activism started in the late 60s, early 70s. Also, where Kearny Street was that was their original location, was at the bottom of the International Hotel. And a lot of the activism around the Third Power movement, Asian American studies, came from there. So, but we wanted to, in this screening, it's going to specifically talk about Jeanette here, Jeanette Lanzam, who was the last person to leave the iHotel after all the seniors, all the residents were evicted, and about her story. And she's an artist, she's a housing rights activist, and that it's a short documentary film that's going to be about her, and it will be the last day to see the show as well. So that's on the 21st if you want to join us. Next slide, please. And speaking of collaboration, APIC and CAAM are collaborating on this SF Bay Area AAPI Dance Film Festival called Being, Belonging, and Beyond. There are different programs happening throughout it's a whole day on May 14th at Couple Gardens outdoor screening, summertime, and there's going to be all kinds of programming. This is the flyer for it. If you could go to the next slide, please. We'll start at 2 p.m. with a screening of And the Community Will Rise, the Little Nora Lee Dance. And then there'll be a little bit of a break, and then a shorts program at 3:30 p.m. featuring a performance by Megan Lowe, as well as Samay Dizon's Brass Hinga, film excerpts by Alalia Panis, and Out of the Dust by Yayoi Kambara. And then we'll have our featured presentation. There's going to be a little bit of reception from 5 to 6. There'll be food, drinks there, and then at 6 we'll have our feature screening and performance with Megan Lowe and Johnny Hui Nguyen, who are going to be doing their world premiere of their feature dance film Home Instead, which was they were the resident artists at 500 Cap Street, and they did this site-specific performance over a couple weeks, and they documented it and turned it into a dance film, so we're going to be able to see that. Speaking of Johnny Nguyen, he's also one of our featured artists this year. He has a series of solo performances, movement performances called No Country for Mother, May 26th through the 28th at Joe Good Annex. Next slide, please. And then, of course, we're going to be doing another outdoor showcase. We're partnering with Sunday Streets. It's their 15th year anniversary, as well as Livable City is the organization behind it. Next slide, please. and we're going to be doing an outdoor showcase at Thunder Street's Tenderloin, June 4th, 12 to 5 p.m. It will be on 2 blocks. The entrance is on Golden Gate Ave and Jones Street. There's a website there if you want to know more information. Some of the artists that are participating is Terry Lily Wong, who's going to be doing a community mandala at the Tenderloin People's Garden, actually, and some dance performances. We have Ma Shine Win here, Shika Malavia, and Preeti Vangani, who are going to be doing some poetry readings. Spulu here is going to be doing a movement piece as well as showing off some of his fashion designs as well. Next slide, please. And then part of our Bay Area, which is our Trans-South Asian Arts Organization, is going to be doing some performances as well. And then we're sharing the stage with, one more. Our featured artist, Caroline Cabading, she's going to have her students showcase where they're going to be showing South Filipino dance music movement. That's Caroline right there in the very center. So she taught a bunch of artists over the whole year. She had an artist residency with us, and her students are going to be doing a showcase at this outdoor showcase as well. So next slide, please. So those are the featured events, but events that are actually happening this week if you are interested in looking for something to do. Next slide, please. Ooh. Can we go back? I was not quite done. There we go. We have Sedena. So Leslie Damaso is an artist coming from, can we go back? Actually coming up from Wisconsin. She's Filipino American, but she's coming to Bindles's studio to do a series of concerts. It's her West Coast premiere. She's doing a whole tour this Friday and Saturday. If you want to catch her, it's a little bit like jazz. There's some like funk, but she's bringing her whole band with her. So please come. It's $20. If you get tickets ahead of time, it's $20. At the door, it's $25. Next slide, please. As well as on Saturday, if you want to do another online event, one of our artists, Jenny Lim, who's a poet, writer, she hosts all these different workshops with writers, and this one's for her Diaspora Writers Workshop reading. It's a culminative reading. There's, I think, about 10 poets who are going to read, and that's on Saturday at 4:30 online. So you can register for those. And here it is again. This is just the title slide for if you want to learn more, get tickets, register for things. You have 2 different websites here. You also have a QR code here that you can scan with your phone. So please come check us out. We have so much wonderful programming. That was just like a snippet of what we're really doing. There's so much more. There's also, there's like food cook-alongs. There's like performances, like, all over the city too, online as well as in person. So please come out. Check out our collaboration with CAAMFest too. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. That's a lot of stuff going on. And I put a link directly, so if you guys want to click that in the chat to APICC Cultural Center, organization./events. Thúy, what do you got going on in May?
All right, I've been told that I have about 10 minutes to do this, so I'm going to high level as much as I can. My slides are not as concise as Melanie's, so if you could bear with me, we might just have to scroll down. So, I mean, of course, our biggest, one of our biggest nights is opening night. If you could jump down to slide, I think 6 or so. So opening night, we have a really big film called Joyride, and it is with the filmmaker was one of the writers for Crazy Rich Asians. So this is her directorial debut. Clint, if you want to go back to the Joyride slide, number 8. Yes. Yeah, so the filmmaker is Adele Lim. It's about 4 friends who go on this international adventure and debauchery ensues. It's fun. It is rated R for language and sexual content, but we are in a new world now. And it stars Stephanie Hsu from Everything Everywhere All at Once, Ashley Park, most recently from Beef, Netflix's Beef, Sherry Cola, and Sabrina Wu. They are all amazing. The cast it's so funny. They're all going to be in attendance attendance. So we'll be doing a Q&A with all of them, all 4 that you see here, including Stephanie Shu. We're also bringing out Adele and the 2 writers, Cherry and Teresa. Afterwards, next slide, please. We'll be celebrating at our gala, our annual gala at the Asian Art Museum. We're actually starting at 9 o'clock. And it's happening right after the film. We'll have 6 food vendors from the Bay Area. We'll have DJs, we'll have tarot readings, we're gonna have henna. So it's going to be a really fantastic evening. And it is Thursday night, but you can do it. I know the Bay Area turns down earlier, but I know you can do it. And then in terms of, can we go to the next slide, please, to our centerpiece films? So these are our centerpiece presentations. They'll be screening at the Castro Theater. We have Liquor Store Dreams. The filmmaker is what she calls a liquor store baby. Her parents are Korean immigrants who own liquor stores in K-Town in LA. So the film explores that connection, that intergenerational disconnect with her family, as well as racial tensions between Black and Asian communities in LA. We have Accidental Getaway Driver. It is a narrative film. So this film world premiered at Sundance most recently. The director won the Sundance Jury Award for Best Director. It's a beautiful film. It's based on a true story about this older Vietnamese taxi driver who gets held hostage by 3 escaped convicts. But really, the film is about his relationship with one of the escaped fugitives. And one of my personal favorites is starring Jerry as himself. This one is very wildly creative. If you really enjoyed Everything Everywhere, I highly recommend this. It's a docu-narrative. It's genre bending. It's about Jerry, who is a Taiwanese divorcee in Florida, who gets swept up in a Chinese police investigation. It is an insane story. And it's a true story based on his life. Highly recommend this one. Can we go down to Ria Tajiri, the next slide? Our retrospective spotlight this year is the pioneer filmmaker Ria Tajiri. Her works, she's done a lot of films exploring the Japanese American experience here. Can you go to the next slide, please? We'll be showing 2 of her older films, Strawberry Fields and History and Memory. They'll be free at the Roxy. And we'll also be showing her new film as well called Wisdom Gone Wild. And this is one of the most challenging pieces of her career. It is a documentation of her mother who has dementia. It's a 15-year-long filmmaking process to capture and document. This is a really beautiful reflection on memory, on history. And this will also be playing at the Castro as well. Ria will be in attendance for this, so there'll be a Q&A. I will say that for the majority of our film screenings, we'll have filmmakers in attendance. So there will be a Q&A afterwards. So that's another great thing about CAAMFest is you'll come see the films and you'll also get to meet the filmmakers as well and learn more about their process. Can we jump down to Pacific Showcase, 2 slides down? Thank you. So we have a partnership with PICC, Pacific Islanders and Communications, and we're bringing 3 amazing programs. We have, I'm going to focus on Family Ingredients. This is going to be playing at the New Parkway in our 2nd weekend. It's a Family Ingredients is a documentary series that we'll be showing on PBS. But we're showing a sneak peek of the first 2 episodes where the co-hosts they're exploring Hawaiian foodways. If one of the co-hosts is Grammy-nominated vocalist Raiatea, she'll be in attendance as well. So we'll have a Q&A with her, and she'll have an a cappella performance, and we'll have a reception to follow. So this is at the New Parkway. Can we jump down to documentary features? One more. Thank you so much. We have a lot of incredible documentary films for you all. For this one, I'm going to showcase Jeanette Lee. So Jeanette is, if you don't know who Jeanette Lee, she is back in the 90s and 2000s. She was the #1 women's pool player. And you probably saw her all across ESPN. This was before I came to America. But for people who were here, she was all across TV. She really created a class of her own. So So this is a very short documentary. It's 50 minutes, but we are going to have an hour-long conversation with Jeanette, who we're bringing in for this. So this is really special. Jeanette actually was diagnosed with cancer in the past few years or so. So she's in recovery right now, and she's really excited to be able to come out and participate in the festival. Can we jump down to one more? Let's go down to the narratives. 2 slides down, please. Awesome. How about one more? So we also have a lot of incredible narratives. What I would like to call out on this is Waiting for the Light to Change. This film world premiered at Slam Dance Film Festival, and it also won the Narrative Jury Award as well. It's more of a coming of age story. So for folks who have teenagers or folks in their early 20s, I highly recommend this for them, really exploring the challenges of youth, of growing up, really not knowing your direction in life. And it's also a really beautiful reflection on friendships as well. Can we scroll down to the shorts programs? Yes, one more. We have amazing shorts programs. If you want to see who is the future of Asian American media and filmmaking, come to the shorts programs, because this is where you'll see so many creative licenses of filmmakers taking just bold steps of really pushing the boundaries on documentary and narrative filmmaking. And for those who don't want to sit through an hour and a half film, I mean, most of these shorts are between 10 and 15 minutes or so, and we have about an hour to 70 minutes or so curated here. And again, most of the short filmmakers will be in attendance. Let's jump down to music. A couple more slides down. Yes. So for music, I mentioned Fanny, the all-female band that formed in the 70s. And we'll have a free concert at the Yerba Buena Gardens Festival, or Yerba Buena Gardens with the Yerba Buena Gardens Festival, one of other collaborative partners. And we'll be bringing the band back for a reunion. We're also featuring local artist Ruby Ibarra, who has actually collaborated with Fanny before, and a very young up-and-coming rock band named Peeboo and the Cats. The lead musician, they're 12 years old. So really awesome that we can highlight and bring in youth artists in this way. And with my 1 minute left, I'm going to talk about our food program. If you can go down to one more slide. Thank you so much. We do have a program with Ben Kyoto. This program actually is sold out right now. It's really popular, but our other food programs are very amazing, and I highly recommend them. We are featuring Andrea Nguyen, who's a Vietnamese American cookbook author. This is her 7th cookbook, and it's about it features plant-forward recipes, Vietnamese recipes, and she'll be in conversation with Soleil Ho, who you might have know her as the SF Chronicles food critic. No longer the food critic, she is now a cultural critic, and so she is making more of these public appearances. Futurist Flavor APICC is the program that I mentioned earlier, where we're flying in a guest chef, Tara Mansad. And then a little bit more local, we have a meal gathering with Calabash, and they are a new restaurant in Oakland that features Jamaican and Iranian food. And the 2 chefs are Nigel Jones, who formerly of Kingston 11 that recently closed down. And the other is Chef Hanif Sadir, who is an Iranian chef. He owns Comage in the Bay Area. And then we have, last but not least, we have a collaboration with KQED at their headquarters. And this is a live storytelling and tasting event talking about second generation seeds. They're a collective made up of farmers who are preserving seeds that will bloom into our vegetables that we don't often get to see here. So Asian American, oh my gosh, not Asian American, Asian vegetables, and just really talking about how seeds really carry that cultural knowledge through food, through our foodways. So it's going to be this one's a little bit more. This one will be more vegan friendly. The APICC is not as vegan friendly. It's a very meat heavy meal actually, and Calabash is vegan friendly. So I'll pause there.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
That is quite an amazing lineup. And, for those youngsters out there, Jeanette Lee was the original Black Widow, as far as I'm concerned. So, with everything that we're seeing nowadays, with everything everywhere all at once, and the success of Justin Lin and the Fast and the Furious, and now with Beef, right, Ali Wong and Stephen Ewan, we're finally it seems like we're a little bit of headway into Hollywood, if you will. How do you see the local arts organizations like yourself, and what kind of role do you play in the success of moving into these bigger realms? Thúy first.
Oh, okay.
You catch your breath?
It's okay if I catch my breath.
Yeah.
I saw Melly with
Yeah, go ahead, Melanie. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say, kind of like I mentioned earlier, like art festivals like ours is really like the first chance where the artists get to figure out what do they want to do, what do they want to talk about, what's their story, and then just really just put it out there and just keep practicing putting it out there, and really just like seeing what works, what fits, and as well as on the back end too, like with CAAMFest and with APICC too, really just like maybe a lot of the times this is their first paid gig as an artist, right? And some of them might not even identify as artists until they do that. And we're really there to like make sure that those opportunities are there for them, that they have these platforms to be able to showcase their work. And seeing even Thúy's lineup, like you could tell like there's so much care and consideration put. You could tell a foodie was part of that. Foodies were part of that lineup right there too. It's just like really being intentional with like who and what we're showcasing, and just like how it's relevant too, right, to like what's happening right now, and everything like that. And it's just, for me, like seeing, especially over the last 10 years in the Bay Area, like seeing the arts organizations and who, like through them, they're nurturing who is the future in media, who is the future in food, who is the future in the arts. Because Christina Wong, who is a performer, just won the I forget the name, but it's like the Dorothy something award, where she got $500,000 a grant of unrestricted funds for an artist, and she's an Asian American artist who won that. Like, I think a lot of the work that CAAM, Kearney Street Workshop, Bindles's Studio, APICC has laid the ground for was to get our artists to those positions where they can really, make a living and make a career out of doing this as their work. And so for me, like the arts organizations are just essential to that.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of Melanie, so I think I mentioned earlier, CAAM, we do have fellowship programs where open call, we select X number of fellows each year, and we pair them up with mentors. And some of these mentors have been fellows in the past. And so through a year-long process, they'll work with these mentors to refine any projects they're working on. They'll learn how to pitch ideas to studios and other folks. And I will say that right now, this program is more tailored towards documentary filmmakers. A lot of CAAM's work is kind of geared more towards documentary filmmaking, but I think we're slowly starting to look towards narratives as well. And then not just with that fellowship program, but we also do an open call for documentary projects who need any kind of assistance. So there's just really few, there's not a lot of money out there for films, and we know films it needs so much money. And so CAAM is one of the few organizations that is able to provide funding towards these documentary projects. And we do that through an open call submissions. And I think we just went through a round, and we just announced that. And we also and CAAM comes in at multiple stages of the process. Sometimes we're able to come in at the very early beginning, sometimes at the very end, in the post-production, just to get them to the finish line. And we see over the years, last year, one of the films that we supported was shortlisted for the Oscars, Bad Axe. It's a documentary film about this Cambodian Mexican family in Bad Axe, Michigan, during the pandemic. And at the time, we had no idea that this film was just going to capture so many people's hearts. And they've seriously become, at least in the Asian American community, they've become like our sweethearts, you know? And then I mentioned our short programs. So in the short programs, you're going to see so many up and coming emerging filmmakers getting their start here, and to be able to showcase them at a festival like ours is just really, really, it's really great. It's a great platform for their work, and just for them to get their work out there and to give them practice to share out what they're working on, and to be in community with each other as well, because most of them will be attending the festival. We have industry programs with Warner Brothers, with NBCU, with Amazon Studios. And so also, you know, and these programs are free, and we have our own filmmaker summit as well, geared towards documentarians. And so, you know, just having CAAM and CAAMFest space to nurture these artists, to build these connections with each other. And then over the years, we see an Ali Wong, you know, we see, you know, Ali Wong attended CAAMFest, you know, when she was younger, and her family, her mom still lives in the Richmond. She was a part of
she started her stand-up career, and she did some stuff for Binosa Studio, and she was part of Aperture at Kearney Street Workshop back in the day. So really, like, her start was here in the Bay, was here at these organizations. So
exactly. Thank you, Melanie. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now I don't know what to do in May. There's so many things.
I know, it's so hard.
Wow.
Seeing Thúy's lineup, I'm like, dang it, I have like a show that day. Can I make her screening?
I know.
I make something of it?
May is packed. May is packed. There's just so many good Asian American programming happening right now. Yeah, I mean, Ray, maybe just don't sleep. Maybe get your sleep now, and then it's no sleep May for the rest of it.
Well, you know, we're winding down, so I want to say thank you once again, Thúy and Melanie, for being with us today. I think you know, you've certainly given me a lot of things to certainly try to put on my calendar. I don't know that how many of that can actually happen, but there's a lot of exciting programming. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that you all do out here in the Bay Area, and helping all these artists get moving, get started, right, and giving them a platform. I think that's huge, right? So I'm looking for any questions in the chat. I don't see any. Yeah. So cool. Any parting words?
I hope to see you all at some of these events. Yeah, please come out and support, and yeah, just check everything out, and come out to CAAMFest, come out to USOF.
Yeah, and to jump on that, this is the first time that CAAMFest is going to be all in person. You know, we're seeing our city just changing so much in terms of accessible spaces that could host programming like what we do. I'm thinking in particular like film screening venues. There just aren't that many. And also just seeing how, you know, the way that people are attending events is changing. And I will say that one of the biggest things you can do to support arts in the Bay Area is to come out and to show up and attend these events, and to share out the word to your friends and family, because word of mouth really is critical for the survival of our festivals, really, and our arts organizations. So it's just so important. We cannot emphasize that enough. Like, this is for you, you know, like Melanie and I have been working, and this is for the Bay Area community. We want to make sure that this is an inclusive space for everyone. And it's okay if you don't know who some of these folks are. And we would love it that you come out and learn about who they are and share it out to your community as well.
Right. We're with these events, where same with APICC Festival. This is the first time we're doing majority in-person events. And it's just like we're creating safe spaces so that people can feel safe and come out again, and really just be able to enjoy themselves and lose themselves in some of these programs, so that we're not thinking about all the stuff that we've been having to deal with, so you can escape for a little bit, for a while, and just really be part of the Asian American community, be part of something. And hopefully it relates to your experiences and your own story too.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks again. And for everyone, you're still on, we have some links here in the chat for you to go find the programs. If you somehow get lost in there, you can always Google CAAM or APICC. All right.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
Thank you,
so much,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, department folks.
Yeah. Thanks for spending your lunch
Yeah.
with us. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm hungry now, so
I know. I'm gonna go eat.
hearing all those food events. Thank you, everyone.